Hey guys, tonight we're going to slow things down and sit with a story that matters. This isn't a tale about noise or anger. It's about restraint, about the quiet strength of someone who didn't scream to be heard, but asked a single question that echoed far beyond that rainy stretch of asphalt. Before we begin, please like the video and subscribe, but only if stories like this truly move you. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is right now. Now close your eyes or don't, it's your choice. Either way, you're about to witness something real. Camille Rhodes has had enough of conference rooms, enough of half-listening executives' beige carpet and catered lunch trays with soggy croissants. The day stretched long, the kind of day that pulls your shoulders down without you realizing it. And now all she wants is home. She exits the parking garage in downtown Macon, Georgia, the sky already leaking frustration. Fat drops smack her windshield rhythmic and steady, the kind of rain that makes the world feel quieter than it is. Camille adjusts the heat and drives with intention, two hands on the wheel, turns signals, sharp speed, a few notches under the limit. She's not in a rush. She never is. What she doesn't know is that someone behind her is. At first, it's just headlights, too close, then brighter, then the red and blue strobe that turns your stomach before your brain catches up. She pulls over immediately. No delay, no music, no phone in hand, just stillness and the sound of rain tap-tapping on glass. She lowers the window halfway. The cold sneaks in. "Good afternoon, officer," she says with a voice smooth but clear. No response. The man towering beside her just extends a hand. License, registration. His partner stands back, hand resting near his belt, eyes sharp. Camille hesitates, only for clarity. "I'm reaching into my glove box now." Still no response. She moves slowly, deliberately, and hands over what was asked. The officer walks back toward the cruiser without a word. Minutes pass, long ones. Her fingers rest in her lap still. No shaking, no phone. She simply breathes, watching droplets streak sideways across her window. Then the second officer appears, 30s, tense jaw. "Step out of the car, ma'am." Her brow furrows slightly. "I'm sorry, what's going on? You were asked to step out." "Now, I haven't been told why I was pulled over." The first officer is back now, out of the car. She steps out, into puddles, into cold. Her shoes sink into the gravel water rising past the soles. Her blazer clings to her back, rain soaking the shoulders. Still she doesn't argue, doesn't raise her voice. But her eyes, they stay locked, trying to find the logic in this. Trying to give these men a chance to show they're not what she suspects. "We're detaining you," the taller officer says. "Detaining me for what?" "Turn around." "I haven't done anything. I just left a meeting. A hand grabs her wrist. Someone across the street yells, "She didn't do anything." Another voice adds, "I'm recording this." A woman's camera phone glows through the mist like a flare. Camille's phone is taken from her hand, placed on the hood of the cruiser. She doesn't cry, doesn't shout, but her watch tucked beneath her sleeve vibrates beneath her skin. Two silent taps, a pre-programmed call. One only she uses, miles away in a courthouse lit by flickering fluorescence. Judge Richard Rhodes hears a chime on his phone. "Camille, audio call, watch." He answers. What he hears stills the room. "Daddy, they're cuffing me. I don't know why." Richard stands so fast his knees crack. "Where are you, Eatonton Road? I gave them everything." "I asked." "They wouldn't say." "I'm just standing here." He hears male voices, a radio, yelling. "Keep the line open," he says. He grabs his coat and leaves court without a word. The marble steps echo behind him. Back in the cruiser, Camille sits soaked, confused. She whispers into her wrist, "Still there," a pause, then her father's voice, "Still here." She exhales, but her eyes stay forward, silent, unmoving. Because some truths don't stay quiet forever, and this won't either. The rain continues, relentless. But it's not the only storm forming. The patrol car smells like damp polyester and dashboard heat. Camille sits stiffly in the back seatbelt across her chest, her wrists red from where the cuffs had been. Her blazer clings to her skin, still soaked, and strands of her hair curl tight along her temples. She doesn't speak, doesn't twitch. She just watches the side mirror. Outside, one of the officers leans against the hood arms, folded eyes flicking toward the growing group across the street. The other taps something into the cruiser's dashboard terminal, occasionally glancing over his shoulder, like he's aware of more eyes than he's used to. Camille shifts slightly. Her wrist buzzes again, barely noticeable, but enough. Dad, she whispers. His voice is calm, firm. I've got you. Just keep that line open. In Augusta, Judge Richard Rhodes drives faster than he should, tires hissing through the sheets of rain. His left hand grips the wheel while he right scrolls his secondary phone, his judicial phone, the one with contacts most people never know he has. He taps twice. Darlene, he says when a voice answers. My daughter's being detained right now, near Eatonton Road. I need you listening. She doesn't ask questions. She hears his tone and gets to work. Richard sends over the call audio, live, unfiltered. He doesn't want this spun. He wants it recorded, preserved, not for sympathy, for truth. In the cruiser, Camille's voice remains steady, but inside she's unraveling. It's not fear, it's the betrayal of process. She did everything right. She answered, complied, respected. Still, here she is, behind glass, behind metal, behind someone's bad judgment. You look nervous, the officer finally says. She turns her head slowly. So that's why I'm detained, because I look nervous. He shrugs. You didn't comply. I asked a question. You will get your answers downtown. I already made a call, she says, voice level. The younger officer twists in his seat. To who? She answers evenly. My father. Who's he going to call the mayor? No, she replies, gaze unwavering. The judge. That hits. The room inside the cruiser shifts barely, but she feels it. A ripple of hesitation. Superior Court, Augusta Judicial Circuit. He doesn't respond, but his posture changes. Less arrogance, more calculation. They were already in too deep, and now the crowd outside had their phones lifted like spotlights. Across town, Judge Rhodes is 3 calls deep, one to the state attorney's office, another to internal court services for badge and complaint history. By the time he reaches the 4th name on his list, he already has the officers' profiles. Mark Densley, 8 citizen complaints, 5 from women, all close in without consequence. Peter Gibbons, fewer on paper, 2 citations for excessive force during protest work, cleared, but noted. Richard taps the call back on. You still with me, he asks. I'm here, Camille says, her voice more a whisper now. Just breathe. Stay calm. It kills him to say it, to know she already was, that she had been from the start. He pulls into a driveway, his colleague, a state representative with pull in Macon's civic network. The door opens before he knocks. Files in hand, voices waiting. Back near the cruiser, the officer reaches for the back door. Another patrol car has just pulled up, this one different. A sergeant steps out, older, thicker frame, mustache that looks carved from an older era. He walks over, quietly, no gun drawn, no barked commands. He taps the window. The door opens. Unlock her cuffs, the sergeant says. The officer hesitates. But I said unlock them. Click. The metal releases. Camille brings her hands forward. Her skin is flushed, wrists marked. But she doesn't rub them. She simply holds them in her lap. You're free to go, ma'am, the sergeant says. That's it. We're reviewing the incident. You may be contacted. She steps out. Slowly, dignity intact even as her clothes cling and her heels squish in mud. The phones from across the street are still recording. She ain't done nothing. Someone yells, another, we got it all on video. Camille picks up her phone from the hood of the cruiser. She glances at the screen. Still recording, still connected. I heard everything her father says. She doesn't reply. She doesn't need to, because silence has its own weight. And now so does the truth. Back in Augusta, Richard Rhodes doesn't sleep that night. He replays the call, rewinds the moment. He's held courtrooms full of liars and systems that bury evidence. But this was different. This was personal. This was proof that justice without urgency is just a process with too many exits. He opens his laptop. The footage is already online, 3 angles. One from the gas station, another from a bystander. The third, shaky but close, shows the moment Camille is handcuffed. Her voice quiet but firm. Can you please tell me why I'm being detained? The reply, you look nervous. That's all it takes. It's already spreading. But Richard doesn't want clicks. He wants consequences. Because he knows better than most what isn't punished is repeated. Sunrise finds Camille sitting on the edge of her bed, hair still damp from the night before wrapped in a towel she never bothered to remove. Her phone buzzes every few minutes, messages from coworkers, college friends, even people she hasn't heard from in years. Was that really you? What happened? I'm so sorry. Let me know if there's anything I can do. She answers none of them. Instead, she refreshes the news. Young professional detained without cause in Georgia. Viral video sparks public outcry. Camille Rhodes, daughter of Superior Court judge, demands explanation after traffic stop escalation. She reads the headline 3 times, then tosses the phone aside. At the courthouse in Augusta, Judge Richard Rhodes hasn't touched his coffee. He's already made 2 calls by the time the sun crests the magnolia trees outside his office. One to the district attorney, the second to a longtime state legislator. Each call carries the same tone, firm, measured, unwavering. I'm not looking for revenge, he tells them. I'm looking for reform. At the Macon Police Department, the temperature is rising. Reporters begin camping outside the building. College students organize a march. Faith leaders issue statements. Local radio hosts take calls from angry listeners who can't stop replaying Camille's calm, measured voice. Why am I being detained? And the cold, dismissive answer? You look nervous. Inside the department, Chief Everett Gaines calls Officer Densley into his office. You didn't de-escalate, the chief says, arms folded, tone restrained. Densley shrugs. She had an attitude. She was wearing a blazer. She asked a question. I didn't feel safe. You didn't feel in control. Gaines corrects. And now you've lit a fuse under this whole department. Densley says nothing. His silence isn't strength. It's defiance. Across the city, Camille sits in her apartment. She hasn't changed out of the gray slacks she wore the day before. Her mother, a soft-spoken woman named Mariah, brings over a thermos of tea and a box of leftover greens and cornbread. She doesn't ask questions. She just sits. And when Camille finally breaks the silence, her voice is low. Do you think they'll actually be held accountable? Mariah doesn't answer. Instead, she cups her daughter's hand and says, they're not ready for who your father becomes when someone he loves gets hurt. And she's right. That evening, Richard holds a private meeting in his study. No suits, no formality, just 5 people, 2 civil rights attorneys, a retired police detective, a state rep, and Richard himself. Papers cover the coffee table, personnel files, complaint logs, body cam request forms. The detective, Raymond Bass, peers at a manila folder. Densley's got a pattern, he says, tapping the page. I flagged him 3 years ago. Detained a teenager for acting nervous. Sound familiar? Richard nods, and it disappeared. Didn't meet the threshold, Bass replies bitterly. Richard circles a phrase in red ink. It's met the threshold now. The younger attorney across from him asks gently, what's your angle, Judge? Are we suing? Not unless they leave us no choice, Richard says. I'm not after a headline. I'm after structure. By morning, Camille's face is on every major outlet, CNN, NPR, even Good Morning America. She watches quietly as they replay the clip, her arms behind her back, rain dripping from her sleeves, her voice composed but pleading, please, I haven't done anything. One commentator calls it the most professional act of protest you'll ever see. Another says this wasn't about rage, it was about restraint, and it struck harder because of it. Camille turns off the TV. She doesn't want to be a symbol. She just wants to breathe again. Meanwhile, Peter Gibbons, the second officer, can't sleep. He's watched the video more times than he admits. Every time he sees the moment he looked away while Camille was cuffed. The way he avoided her eyes. The way his gut had twisted and how he'd swallowed it. On Monday morning, he walks into the Internal Affairs office. I want to talk, he says. They ask if he wants legal counsel. I just want to tell the truth. And he does. He confirms that Densley led the stop, that Camille posed no threat, that she asked fair questions, that Densley escalated, that they ignored procedure. By mid-afternoon, Gibbons is placed on leave not as punishment, but as protection, and the department knows the first crack has formed. Across the city, Densley fumes in a bar near Warner Robins, slurring into a bourbon. They're making me the poster boy, he complains to a colleague. Everything wrong with this country, he sneers, and I'm the headline. His friend doesn't argue. He just stares into his drink, the silence between them more telling than words. Densley doesn't notice. Or maybe he doesn't care. But someone does. Camille, sitting by her window, tea cooling beside her, her smartwatch still paired to her father's phone. She presses 2 fingers to the screen. No call this time, just a memory of a voice that said, "Still here." And the moment she knew, even silence has weight. By Tuesday morning, City Hall in Macon feels like a pressure cooker. The mayor's staff is flooded with emails, voicemails, and social media tags, all demanding the same thing: answers. The mayor, Calvin Roebuck, isn't a man built for crises. He's a manager, not a leader. And now he's staring at the slow-motion unraveling of his police department and his own public image. "We didn't know who she was," his chief of staff says, eyes darting. "She's been on 4 corporate boards," the mayor snaps. "Spoken at city events. Her father swears us all in. How did nobody catch this?" No one answers. The silence says enough. In the background, the video continues playing on loop. Camille's voice again and again. "Why am I being detained?" And the officer's cold reply. "You look nervous." Roebuck turns to his city attorney. "What's our exposure? Legal, reputational, structural?" The attorney replies flatly. "And it's growing by the hour." Meanwhile, Richard Rhodes sits across from City Councilwoman Helen Mercer, a sharp-minded veteran of political fires. "I'm not asking for special treatment," he says, hands clasped on the table. "I'm asking for accountability, for transparency, for decency." 2 officers escalated without cause. He continues, "And if there weren't cameras, my daughter would be another arrest stat, not a headline." Helen listens. She knows what this means. And she knows what silence will cost them now. "What do you want from us?" "Start a civilian oversight committee. Independent. Transparent. You know that takes months." "Then start now, because I'm not the only one watching anymore." Across town at Camille's apartment, her phone buzzes. Her father's text is simple: "Gibbons cracked." Full statement. She stares at it for a moment, then shows it to her mother, who quietly folds a shirt beside her. "Well, they're starting to turn on each other," Camille says. Mariah nods. "That's when people get desperate." In a small, windowless union office, Officer Densley slams a fist against the table. "They're throwing me to the wolves," he growls at the union rep. After everything, the rep doesn't flinch. "You gave them the rope. You cuffed her without cause. And now Gibbons has flipped." "I did what I was trained to do." "No," the rep says sharply. "You did what you wanted to do, and now you're a liability." Densley paces. "I'm not going down alone." The rep leans in. "Then don't make it worse." But Densley's silence isn't reflection. It's resentment. Outside, the Macon PD students from Central High walk out and protest. They stand on the sidewalks with homemade signs. "Asking why isn't a crime." "We are Camille. Fire Densley now." Their voices are quiet, but their presence is loud. Local churches hold vigils that double as strategy meetings. Community leaders call for immediate reforms. A councilwoman takes to the podium and publicly demands Densley's termination. Inside the PD, the leadership is scrambling. Chief Gaines gathers with his 2 captains and legal counsel. "We can't just fire him," one captain says. "That's an admission of guilt." He already admitted guilt on camera, Gaines snaps. And Gibbons confirmed it. The legal advisor tries to soften the blow. "Maybe we issue a temporary suspension." "Do it," Gaines says. "Make it public." By 9:00 p.m., a new statement is issued. Officer Mark Densley has been suspended without pay, effective immediately pending a full investigation. No apology, no admission of wrongdoing. Just bureaucracy in crisis. But for the public, it's not enough. That night, Camille watches the press conference from her couch. Her arms are crossed. Her tea cold again. Her phone buzzes. "Her father, you watching?" She replies, "Yeah, he won't say sorry, I know. But his hands are tied now." Later that evening, Richard receives a call from the city attorney. "We're considering offering Camille a settlement." Quiet, through civil outreach. Richard doesn't raise his voice. He simply replies, "She's not for sale." Click. By the next afternoon, as the department issues another release, Officer Mark Densley has agreed to resign, effective immediately. The phrasing is careful. Voluntary separation. but everyone knows what it really means. It means he saw the wall coming and took the back door. The headlines move fast. Officer in viral traffic stop resigns amid outcry. Camille Rhodes case prompts policy review. Judges quiet fight forces. Department shakeup. But Richard refuses interviews, declines media appearances, turns down morning show offers. This isn't entertainment, he says. It's accountability. Instead, he sits with local clergy and community advocates, quietly building a longer bridge than the one that just burned. That night, Camille receives an email from her company's CEO. Subject, you made us proud. The message is short. Your professionalism reminded us what dignity under pressure looks like. She reads it once, then closes her laptop, steps out to her balcony, and for the first time in days, breathes without counting it. 3 months pass. The headlines have faded. The hashtags are no longer trending. The protests have quieted into policy meetings, and the voices that once echoed across courthouse steps now move through City Hall in hushed, strategic tones. But Camille Rhodes, she returns to work like nothing happened, not because it didn't matter, but because she won't let it define her. It's a bright Monday morning when she steps out of the elevator on the 10th floor of Cortland and Rising Consulting. Light gray blouse, pressed navy slacks, a quiet, deliberate calm in every step. Her ID badge clipped neatly to her hip, her leather tote slung over one shoulder. A few coworkers glance up from their cubicles. Some nod. Others look away, unsure whether to say something or nothing at all. Camille greets them all with the same polite nod. No smile, no ice to break. She's not here to explain anything. She walks straight into the project suite, places her bag gently on her chair, opens her laptop, and picks up where she left off, before everything changed. 10 minutes later, Maya, one of the junior analysts, peeks through the door. Hey, she says softly. Glad to see you back. Camille doesn't look up. Thanks. A pause. If you ever want to talk, I'm good, Camille replies. Not cold, just focused. Maya hesitates, then nods and leaves. Camille doesn't want to be that girl from the video. She wants to finish her audits, submit her reports, leave at 5. She wants her silence back, not because she's afraid to speak, but because she earned the right not to. But the silence around her isn't the same. People pause when she enters the room. Conversations soften near the break room when she walks by. She notices, but she doesn't feed it. She takes her lunch break in the empty conference room. A mug of tea, a legal pad, a black pen, no spreadsheets, no timelines, just thoughts. She begins to write. What it feels like to be silenced without cause. What it feels like to stay calm while handcuffs bite into your skin. What it means to carry your father's voice in your ear while strangers debate your worth outside your window. The door creaks open. This time it's Marcus, the firm's director of operations. He's a quiet man in his 50s, measured and deliberate. Mind if I sit? Camille shrugs. Up to you, he sits. Doesn't speak for a while. Then finally he says, I was angry when I saw that video. Camille looks up. Most people were shocked, she says. I wasn't shocked, he replies. I was angry because I've seen that happen too many times. Just never to someone I knew. Camille studies him. Not defensive, just listening. I'm not going to ask if you're okay, Marcus continues. That question's not useful right now. A half smile tugs at Camille's mouth. Thanks for that. He stands to leave. If you need time, take it. If you want more work, I'll give it. Just don't feel like you have to carry this for everyone else. Camille nods. I won't. Outside her office, the media cycle has moved on. New headlines, new outrages, new distractions. But her story doesn't disappear. Not completely. A sociology professor at a local college adds the video to next semester's curriculum. A civil rights podcast references her restraint during a live interview with a state lawmaker. The footage is archived in more than one policy training course for de-escalation. And her father. He doesn't return to the bench. Richard Rhodes retires in a quiet ceremony. 52,000 cases reviewed. 27 years of rulings. No cameras. Just a podium and a few colleagues who understand what kind of justice doesn't make headlines. He speaks plainly. I didn't become a judge for recognition, he says. I did it because I believed in what justice could be, not just what it was. He pauses, lets the quiet settle. But what reminded me most wasn't a courtroom. It was a phone call from my daughter. The room holds its breath. She didn't scream. She didn't resist. She asked why, and two men didn't like it. He scans the room. That moment tested everything I stood for and reminded me that justice doesn't wear a robe, and it sure as hell doesn't wear silence. The room stands. No applause, just respect. Outside the courthouse, Camille helps him pack up his things. His briefcase creaks open. She folds his robe, tucks it carefully beside his worn leather notepad. Feels strange, she asks. He looks around. Doesn't feel like mine anymore. Then it's time. They walk outside together. Sun warms the sidewalk. For a moment, neither speaks. Then Richard glances at her. You did more than most people ever will. She chuckles. All I did was ask a question. He stops walking. Sometimes he says that's the hardest thing to do. Back in Macon, the ripple continues. City Council officially approves a new civilian oversight board for traffic stops. Officers are now required to state the reason for a stop before asking a driver to exit their vehicle unless there's a clear, immediate threat. And Officer Densley, no department in the state will take him. His badge now sits in a drawer next to a resignation letter written too late to erase the harm he caused. Camille never sees him again. She doesn't need to. She's moved on. Not past it, just forward. She leads new projects. Mentors junior analysts. Guest lectures at a university on crisis response in corporate environments, a title chosen carefully with no mention of her past. She doesn't seek the spotlight. She doesn't repeat the story. But people listen differently now when she speaks. She's not just someone's daughter. She's someone who made power flinch without ever raising her voice. On a quiet Sunday, Camille meets her father at a park halfway between their homes. They sit on a bench, coffee in hand. Birds dance through the trees. A jogger passes with headphones in. Life moves forward. She turns to him. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you didn't answer that call? He doesn't hesitate. No, because I did. They sit in silence, not because there's nothing to say, but because sometimes silence is the thing that saves you. Because sometimes all it takes is one voice, asking why. The story of Camille Rhodes didn't begin in the rain. It began in restraint, in dignity, in a voice that chose clarity over chaos. She didn't need a megaphone. She didn't need a march. She only needed one sentence. Why am I being detained? And for once, the world listened. But listening isn't enough. Real change comes not from noise, but from action, from policies rewritten, from careers ended, from courtrooms that finally see what has been happening just beneath the surface all along. Camille never asked to be a symbol. She asked for fairness and got headlines. But in the quiet that followed, in the space between the last press conference and the next policy draft, she reclaimed something far more powerful than attention. She reclaimed her name, her breath, her silence. And Richard, he walked away from the bench, not because he was tired, but because his fight no longer needed a gavel. It needed something stronger, a father's love, a daughter's courage, and a system that could no longer pretend not to see. So to anyone listening now, anyone who's ever been told to sit down, stay quiet, don't ask. Let this story be a reminder. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to fight to matter. Sometimes you only have to ask the right question and refuse to let the answer be silence.